everyone, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Celine.
And welcome back to another episode at the
We Are Podcast.
So this week we have some good news updates for you guys. And let's just go straight into it with probably like one of the worst things that's happened of the week. So as we know, 4th of July happened recently.
Right.
And there was a 4th of July parade held in Highland Park, Illinois, which is just like an area in Illinois near Chicago. And at that parade, they're basically just celebrating like independence and 4th of July, you know, as most Americans do. But unfortunately, there was a mass shooting that occurred at the parade, and it killed 7 people, and at least 38 people were wounded in the process. And it happened because someone was like opening fire from a rooftop during a 4th of July parade.
So I assume that the targets, it was kind of like a sniper situation, like they didn't have intentional targets, or? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he didn't have like a certain person he wanted. He was just like trying to mass murder a lot of people.
That's awful.
And it's especially sad because we're celebrating our independence and like America as a country, and then something like that happens. It really makes you just like so sad that like on the one day that Americans can come together, you're like ruining that for everyone.
Right. And it's like, just, what is there even to celebrate if this is still happening?
Yeah, like it's just so sad, and it's definitely something that like makes you think. So the identities of the people killed were not immediately released, but a coroner official said 5 of them were confirmed to be adults, which meaning that the other 2 were like children or like adolescents of some sort, which is just awful. Like imagine going to celebrate with other Americans like your independence, and then literally being under an active shooter situation. Like that's terrible.
That's terrible.
Yeah, he said the victims of the shooting ranged from 8 to 85, so the entire spectrum.
Yeah.
So the person of interest, like the person who committed the crime, was Robert E. Crimo III. He was arrested Monday evening after a very intense search. So basically, they say that he carried out the shooting, including like climbing up a ladder onto like the roof of like some sort of building, and then he just shot people from the roof. He will be held without bail, so he can't get bailed out of jail, right? But he can't get bailed out, and no motive has been determined so far, meaning that like he could have just done it because of a mental illness or something.
Yeah, and normally if you're like shooting from a rooftop, that usually means you're just shooting to shoot and not like because there's a specific person. Because if you're that far away, like you'd have to have a really good aim to know exactly who you're shooting at.
Yeah, definitely. And he says that there was like he's gonna be charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder for the 7 people killed. But they also said that they want to charge him with more because he just did such an awful thing.
Right.
So during the Wednesday hearing, prosecutors outlined the evidence against Crimo, including eyewitness accounts, cell phones, photo, video, surveillance footage, and physical evidence. And he was actually said to have confessed to the crime to police. So like it's not like he's not pleading guilty or anything. Like it seems like he's definitely admitting to it.
I feel like in a lot of these cases, the shooter either admits to it or like commits suicide.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. And
that happens a lot.
It's strange, but
I feel like they're so mentally ill that it's like,
yeah,
you know,
definitely. But the saddest thing about this was that he actually had a very weird past. So, in September of 2019, a family member of his called the Highland Park police to report that the shooter was going to kill everyone, quote, and that he had a collection of knives. So, they actually confiscated in 2019 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword.
Did you say confiscated?
Confiscated? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Confiscated 60 knives, a dagger, and a sword from his home. So basically, what he did, he basically had 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword found inside his home. So he definitely had like a dark past. Like he was not exactly
normal.
And he definitely didn't have like a lot of these shooters, like they didn't have any noticeable like police run-ins before, but like in this that he definitely had. And also like it was another thing that like the police actually like confiscated them, so it's very like prevalent. And then he went through 3 background checks and eventually a 4th, and he was still able to legally purchase a gun with his father sponsoring him. So like even though people had found knives in his house and like daggers and stuff, and that someone like called in to report him, he was still able to get a gun.
That's awful.
Yeah, and then he, you know, obviously that the knives were a sign that that's not normal. And then to pass background checks and legally get a gun is very, very disturbing. And then he was able to like commit such a bad crime. So that's definitely really sad. And
yeah, really awful.
Again, condolences to everyone at the parade and especially the victims' families. So
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so the next update I am going to do is about Presidential Medals of Freedom.
Okay.
So Biden has presented 17 different people with Presidential Medals of Freedom, and these are basically medals. It's like the nation's highest civilian honor, so it's a huge deal if you're awarded with one of these, and it's designed to basically recognize people who have like made contributions to the US or world peace, or like people who have like worked hard in the US or just accomplished things. So he's handed them out to 17 people, including like athletes. Simone Biles was given one, and she's like a famous Olympic gymnast, like the most decorated US gymnast in history. She's like super well known for her like role in the Olympics. And but like along with this, she's also been an advocate for mental health of athletes, like foster care children and sexual assault victims, like with the whole Larry Nassar thing, which was like huge, you know, like, where the gymnast was basically like assaulting girls and using his position to like do things inappropriate.
Larry Nassar was like a physician for the gymnast.
Right, yeah.
team.
So he was like using his position in inappropriate ways to like gain access to these women, and it was really terrible. And she was like really speaking out about that. And she's also the youngest person to receive this medal, which is good. Like, she definitely deserves it.
Yeah.
And then another athlete was Megan Rapinoe, and she's a soccer player from the women's national team. Yeah. She's won the World Cup twice, and she's been given a silver and bronze at the Olympics, so she's also very decorated.
Yeah.
But she's also been an advocate of like social issues like LGBTQ rights and racial justice, and she's also the first soccer player to be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the US, which is pretty great. We're breaking a lot of records.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there were also like other people like Sandra Lindsay, who was a New York nurse, and she was like the first person to be vaccinated against COVID, and like when she was vaccinated, it was like broadcast on live television. So it was kind of just like encouraging others to get vaccinated too. And then there was also John McCain, who he passed away, but he died of brain cancer in 2018, but he spent over 5 years in captivity in Vietnam when he was serving for the US Navy. So, you know, he suffered a lot when helping our country. And he also worked in the House and the Senate. So yeah. And one of the people, it's sad, like Denzel Washington, who's like a 2-time Oscar winner, couldn't be there. I feel like that would be so sad, like to not be there because he had COVID. So I feel like not being there in person to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom would be sad.
That was
but I mean, good job to all of them, you know. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's very inspirational, and it's probably really cool for them to receive that. So.
Yeah, it's probably great.
Yeah. Okay, so next update. Let's do Brittney Griner.
Yes.
Okay, so this is like the Russia and Ukraine for the week. Of course, there's more happening, but this is like the main kind of news involving the U.S. So basically, Brittney Griner, she was a very, very famous American women's basketball player, and she was traveling to Russia to do some sort of like basketball event, I think. And while she was going through security, they found like traces of like CBD and like marijuana in her vape pens. She said that she like packed them by accident, and like she didn't mean to pack them because she knew they were like illegal, especially in Russia, where they're super strict on drug laws. And then she got like taken in by Russia, and she's been in captivation for a very like a while. She was detained in February, so she's been there for like what, like 7
February,
months?
March,
Yeah.
5 months. March.
What date? Oh yeah, 5.
April,
I thought
yeah.
it was the 9th month because it said 9.
Oh.
Anyways, she's been there for 5 months. I can't do math. Anyways, she's been in there for 5 months, which is a very long time, almost half a year. And she's definitely like, a lot of people think that she's been detained for so long because she's like a person of influence in America. So the Russians are sort of using her as sort of like a leverage point to sort of intimidate or like deal with American people and sort of like show the government that they're dominant and stuff like that. It's kind of like a threat, honestly.
Right.
So Russia has been very not generous with this case at all.
Yeah, no.
So recently she had a trial in hearing on Thursday, and he said that the basketball star admitted that the vape canisters were hers. She basically pleaded guilty to the charges. It's very sad that she's being so highly detained for bringing vape pens.
Right. Like in the US, this like using like CBD and like marijuana in most states isn't like illegal or not legal, not illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it definitely like a lot of these Russian situations, like even if there is a legitimate reason for the sentence is way higher than what should be proportionate for like the scenario, like in this case.
Yeah, honestly, like at the very most, I'd say she just pay a fine. I don't think she should be detained. So it's very sad, especially since she's like a role model to so many people. Everyone's like very upset about this.
Right.
But the National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson echoed a statement saying that, as we have stated before, we believe the Russian Federation is wrongfully detaining Brittney Griner under intolerable circumstances, and the U.S. government continues to work aggressively, pursuing every avenue to bring her home safely to her family. And so many people are just advocating for her release, and I think it's important to get her free, because I mean, obviously, definitely. No one wants to be detained for almost half a year.
Russia,
and no one knows what's gonna happen too.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So best of luck to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready for the next update?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna do one more update, and then I think we should end off the first half.
Yes.
Okay, so my update is about Japan's ex-leader Shinzo Abe being assassinated.
This was all over.
Yes, huge. Because when a leader is assassinated, that's a huge thing, just because they're in such a high position of power, and that's a big deal for the country.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an ex-leader, but still, that's important. So, Shinzo Abe was the former, he was 67 years old, and he served as Prime Minister of Japan, and he was assassinated during, like, a political speech he was given. And by the way, the system of government in Japan is like a constitutional monarchy, so the Prime Minister holds a lot of power, and they're basically the head of the government, so kind of like the president in the US. So he had stepped down from role as Prime Minister in 2020, but he served longer than anyone else. He served from 2006 to 2007, and then he served again from 2012 to 2020. So that's a long term. So basically, he was making a political speech in Nara, and then he was only 1 minute into the speech when the suspect Tetsuya Yamagami, a 41-year-old, fired 2 shots at him. The first shot missed, and then the second shot hit his chest and neck. So and he collapsed, and bystanders started like running up to him to try to give him medical care and first aid care. Then the police arrived, and they tackled and arrested the gunman Yamagami at the scene, and he didn't try to run away or like say anything. He was just kind of like, okay, you know.
Oh god.
Right. It's like a lot of these shooters don't even like try to deny it.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Especially like, what could make you so mad that you would kill someone? Like, that just doesn't, like, I can't understand it.
Yeah, so Shinzo Abe died several hours later. He was transported to the hospital for like care, but you know, despite that, he still passed away. This was like really shocking because Japan is one of the world's safest nations. It has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So
in the world.
In the world, not in the country. Wait, that wouldn't make any sense. Yeah. But anyways, so like more about Yamagami, who's the shooter. He was like unemployed, but he was a former member of Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, which is the Japanese Navy. And he said he attacked the former prime minister because he believed he was associated with the group that Yamagami hated, but there was no like clear motive necessarily about like what group or more of like that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Japanese prime minister at the time, like right now, who's Fumio Kishida, said the suspect's motivations were unclear. And back to the thing about like the gun laws and how like there's such strict gun laws, Yamagami actually multiple handgun maids were found in his home, so he had like
handmade guns.
What did I say?
Handgun maids.
I'm so tired.
Okay.
Handmade guns were found in his home, and yeah, the gun he actually used was handmade too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not very good at all.
Yeah, that's awful.
And you know, the prime minister, he had accomplished a lot. Like he reformed immigration policy. There's an increase in the amount of women who participated in the military. The Japanese economy did well. So you know, it's just really a terrible thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's super sad. And leaders all over the world were like basically just like telling people that that's, if you don't agree with them, their political view, or you don't agree with what they do, that doesn't mean you have to hurt, you have the right to hurt them.
And he's not even prime minister anymore. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't even hold power, which it doesn't matter whether he holds power or not. That obviously doesn't matter, but, like, he does, like, it just adds to the confusion over, like, why.
And it's just, it's so, like, saddening just to see people take such extreme measures over disagreements.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's our first half. Stay tuned for the second half. We have, like, 4 more updates. So.
All right. Hi everyone, welcome back from the break.
Welcome back.
All right, do you want me to start or anyways?
You can start off.
All right, let's start off with good old Elon.
Oh my god,
I
not
feel
again.
like we have a relationship with him on this podcast.
At this point, Elon's like a long-term friend, although I don't know if friend is the
Frenemy.
right
I don't know, we have mixed emotions about Elon.
I don't have mixed emotions.
Didn't
I
he
think
just
mine
have
are-
twins with someone?
Oh my god, it was like revealed that these like twins were like his or something.
Yeah.
Why does he have like so many children?
With so many different people.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, anyway, and he names them like Phi Theta Beta or something.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, anyways. So in, like, we have spent so many times talking about how Elon Musk was trying to buy Twitter, how he literally, you know, upped the ante for Twitter. He did everything he could to buy Twitter, and when they finally reached a deal, guess what he did? He backed out of his deal.
I have no words for that dude. I'm
He
sorry.
tried so hard. He paid billions of extra dollars than he originally proposed. He was willing to give up so much stuff to buy Twitter, and now that he reached the agreement, he backed out of the deal.
It was like his life mission for a little while there. Like he really wanted Twitter.
He was adamant on buying Twitter.
He's like one of those people who just want something just because they can have it, and then when they can actually have it, they don't want it. That's, you know what, Elon? I have no words for your actions.
0 words.
Disappointed.
0.
I'm disappointed in you.
Anyways, so if you want more details, Elon Musk is like the world's richest person. He owns Tesla and SpaceX, and he is a CEO of like a million different things. So he's very, very rich and very, very influential. And thus he wanted to buy Twitter because he wanted to expand his not only like power, but also just to like change up Twitter a little bit and sort of like promote stuff for him. I don't know. It was a good PR move, honestly. But he backed out of the deal for reasons that were kind of weird, but also kind of made sense. His lawyer, Mike Ringler, actually sent out a letter to Twitter about him backing out. And a couple of like reasons why he backed out of the deal was because he said that the Twitter board is committed to closing the... Wait, that's the wrong quote, sorry. So he basically...
I've
so
done
tired.
that so many times, and then I just like act like it's work. So I'm just like, yeah.
No, that's the wrong quote. Sorry, the real quote was, he said that Twitter has failed or refused to provide this information, which is referring to the fact that Elon specifically like wanted information about like business as he requested, and as well as like the spam accounts like in Twitter. And he his lawyer claimed that they like Twitter didn't give him the accurate information regarding like a couple statistics that he wanted. And he said that sometimes Twitter has ignored Mr. Musk's request, sometimes it has rejected them for reasons that appear to be unjustified, and sometimes it has claimed to comply while giving Mr. Musk incomplete or unusable information. So basically, his requests about data and different like statistics and demographics about Twitter weren't being met completely. So he was kind of like upset about that. And on top of that, he said that they have like made some false and misleading representations to Mr. Musk. I don't know why I call him Mr. Musk. Good old Elon. But basically, he's kind of upset with like the way that they're handling the deal. In some ways, it seems like he thinks that they breached the deal in a way, and they're not giving him everything he wants, so he wants to back out of it now.
I mean, wow.
No words.
All that work for nothing.
All right.
Well, you know, you do you, Elon.
All right.
Okay.
Next.
All right. This is my last update. I said there would be 4, but I lied. Okay, this one is about Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister of Britain. Well, actually, he still is, technically, but he's resigning.
Yeah.
He announced he will step down as leader of the Conservative Party. He's going to stay in office until the Conservatives choose a new, like, party leader, who will then become Prime Minister, but you know, he's gonna resign. So let's talk about the British government. Yay. Okay, so prime ministers aren't like elected by the people. They're like chosen by the party that elects the most lawmakers in the general election, if that makes sense.
So like in America, if most Democrat senators were elected by the people, then the senators could pick a Democratic leader.
Right. So right now in Britain, the Conservative Party has that power, so they get to choose who the prime minister is. So like the people don't directly choose, but the Conservative Party does.
So they voted for conservative lawmakers, and then the lawmakers get to choose the prime minister.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly.
I actually didn't know that.
Wow, you're so smart. Boris Johnson, there was a lot of controversy. Whoa, that was so like jinx. Many people didn't like him for good reasons, honestly. Like a lot of members of his cabinet and like officials and aides also quit the government because they said they could no longer serve under his leadership. Many cabinet leaders told him he should resign. Like literally everyone thinks he should resign. And one of the big reasons, like bigger, it's like a buildup of a lot of different things. But one of the newest reasons was because a lot of people don't trust him, and there was a big scandal that basically he promoted a guy named Chris Pincher, a lawmaker, and he promoted him to a position of like higher power, but Chris Pincher was actually the subject of a sexual harassment claim, and Boris Johnson like said he didn't know about this, but then it was like proven later that he actually did know, and he was forced to acknowledge that he knew. So people lost a lot of trust in him. Like a poll found that 3 out of 4 Britons viewed him as untrustworthy, and the same poll also showed that 69% of people in Britain thought he should resign. Like that's a lot of citizens. Yeah. So anyways, he also like during COVID, he like, you know, was putting down like regulations and stuff, and then he was like, yeah, we're following all these like protocols in the government, but then if it was found out that they actually had like all these parties with people, like no social distancing and like yeah, so anyways, there were a lot of scandals centered around him, like the COVID thing and the, you know, Chris Pincher, so it was just time for him to resign, and he resigned.
And I definitely think
the right
that
decision.
a lot of people hated him. I've heard a lot about him. All right, so the last update we have for you guys this week is about where is it?
It's at the end.
Scrolling.
Isn't it the Recession one?
Yes, Recession.
Or Recession.
So,
did I say Recession? Oh my god.
The Recession. Okay, this is like really important for people to know. It's probably like one of the bigger things that you need to know in your life.
Wow, you're so knowledgeable.
it has to do with a little bit of finance, and it's pretty prevalent. It's not like a news update, but it's a news update. Anyway,
it's like a broad issue that's not a specific thing.
Yeah, but it's coming up, so you need to learn about it. So the recession is a very big deal in the economy, and it's basically, in my words, it's when prices inflate so much and they get so high to the point where people just boycott it, and they just like stop buying things altogether. And because they stop buying things altogether, the economy just reaches a major stopping point in spending, and it plunges. Like, prices drop like crazy.
Yeah.
And inflation, in case you're wondering, Celine, explain inflation to us.
Yeah, so inflation is when like the price of like a dollar can kind of like change based on like the economy. So like in, let's say, 1980, the price of like gas would be very different than it is like now with like Russia and Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Because like prices change and the value of a dollar changes and fluctuates like throughout our lives. With things like Russia and Ukraine and crises like those, the price or like the value of a dollar can like fluctuate, which means things can be more expensive.
Yeah, and inflation is specifically meaning like more like going up in fluctuation. So because like the war in Russia and Ukraine, we get like a lot of our gas from Russia, and we like stopped getting gas from them because of the war. That means gas prices are going up, and that's an example of inflation. Like, it's going up rapidly. And like it just anytime a commodity goes up, like it's rising up, that just basically means that it's inflating in price value. And when that happens, you know, people start to get very worried because they can't afford it eventually. And then it just reaches a point where there is a decline in economic activity because prices are so high. So the recession is like basically a term for like the widespread happening of that, and it's a very big deal for like everyone, because it not only means that like the economy will kind of crash in a sense, but it also means that that prices will drop, but it also means that because prices are dropping, people are losing a lot of money. So like companies will lose a lot of money, and a lot of people that are working for companies could experience budget cuts or like even like being laid off as a result of the recession. And it just basically is not good for our economy. And you know, I think it happened once in like 2008 during like that huge economic crisis that we had, but it's predicted to happen again. In fact, like 70% of economists predict that we'll go into a full-blown recession in 2023, and that will very, very, very be bad. The pandemic kind of like ushered in the inflation and eventually the recession, because starting from the pandemic, people were keeping like the money, like the rates of things were just going up rapidly, and it also like appeared that the rate of government spending, money printing, and federal power was like getting a lot larger during the pandemic, which can contribute to inflation, because you know they're putting a lot out there, and it's just the prices are like trying to compete with each other. So it will be really hard. So people say that when the recession comes, it will be really hard on like millennials and Gen Zers, which are like basically anyone from their like birth now to like their 30s, or like even maybe 40s. I actually don't know the generation dates exactly, but basically, so they will like not be able to have that safety net that they had to the point, because when the recession happens, they will be able to, you know, cut like the expenses that they're being paid. And it can be really dangerous to a lot of people that haven't been able to build up like a safety fund yet, because they'll just experience like all these budget cuts in their work and stuff, and it can, you know, be really bad, and it also can cause like an uptick in unemployment and stuff. And it's very, very interesting. It can also like be really, really bad for consumers, which I feel like is counterintuitive, because I thought when the like a recession would occur, it would mean that like consumers would like prices would drop, so they would like be able to get food for cheaper and stuff, because like the recession happened. But that's not always the case. Like consumers can be affected by it a lot too, because they're not being paid enough as well. So like it could be very bad for our economy.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for our news updates.
So I hope you learned something.
Yeah. Do you have any good news? We went shopping.
We went shopping today. I got some good clothes and I'm happy. I got white jeans.
Oh yeah, me too.
I didn't find pink jeans though. That was like my dream.
That was
my dream is pink jeans. I want like.
I don't really have anything besides like white jeans. I kind of.
And you got those. So.
Yeah, and I got those.
I don't know. Yeah, shopping was fun and I got stuff.
Yeah, and you got a green shirt, a very green shirt.
Very green. I like it.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching. DM us, check out our social media. We are _youth.org. Or wait,
Yeah.
Is that it? Oh, okay.
We are _
I don't even know our
youth.org, not .org. We are _ youth.org.
And then our website is we're-youth.org.
We are -youth.org for the website.
Don't listen to me for
all
anything.
of it's in the bio if we're too confusing for you, so check it out.
And check out for like Russia and Ukraine.
If you want to donate to Ukraine.
I just stopped recording, but it didn't. I was like, anyways, yeah. So stay tuned. Have a good week.
Follow the pod. Bye.
Yeah, bye.